Hey there, my name is Heather Feather. I'm the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is two Earths. I'm actually using that because it will help us to break down the concept that I'm wanting to present today. What I've been noticing this past week, I find that there are typically themes that shake in the web of life. You may view that yourself if you follow astrology, that there are astrological influences that can influence a focus around behavior or focus around emotions or focus around the way we receive, if Venus is impacted or Mars is impacted for behavior or the moon is impacted. And it can have a more direct impact if those aspects of where those planets find themselves in the zodiac are aspected in your chart. Another way to say that is just that you may notice that often we collectively, or you could talk about Jungian collective consciousness, that there can be a collective lesson that we as two-leggeds are learning if we wanted to go more psychological with it. What I would say from my experience, from a medicine person shamanic perspective, the web tends to shake specific concepts pretty universally for two-leggeds. And it doesn't mean that everyone will deal with that. It just means it's what I call what's shaking in the web right now. So one of the things I want to speak to is in this previous week, a lot of two-leggeds in my interactions and my individual clients and speaking with my friends have had shaking in their web, some darkness, some pain. In the closure of 2021, they've been feeling pulled down. My experience is actually even engaging as a optimistic, positive Sagittarius with experiences that are pulling down. It's like, this is not my frequency. I like to laugh and I like to play and I like to have a fun time. Doesn't mean I can't be serious. Life has handed me a lot of reasons to activate severity. And my preference as a general rule as an optimistic Sag is to be playful, lighthearted, to laugh at the cosmic joke, laugh at myself. And so I've noticed a lot of things in the past week have garnered my attention to let's go to the dark place. It's like, no, thank you. And I think it's part of closing out 2021 as we move into a shift with 2022. 2022, if we were to add that together, is 2 + 2 + 2, vision and acceptance. Vision and acceptance means that there's an opportunity available for visionary ideas if we will but accept them and step into them. A visionary way of looking at life, our life, changes to life. It can be a very family-oriented number, and it can represent really using a lot more creative vision. In 2021, we were dealing with a 5, 2 + 2 + 1, making 5. 5 is freedom and discipline. So last year in 2021, we were dealing with our freedoms, and we were dealing with following discipline. And you can see that with, masking, anti-masking, vaxxing, anti-vaxxing, a lot of concepts around the discipline of, not all police officers always say, but the discipline of some police officers using their discipline to protect and serve as a means to then bully and infringe upon the freedom of people of color, which can occur. Also, racism can occur in any job, actually. So we were really looking at freedom and discipline last year, and we're moving into a more visionary year. Often what happens before we embrace the new is we shake the old out of the web. So the reason I call this video Two Earths is if you tend to consider yourself a spiritual person and follow spiritual groups, you may have experienced in the past 1 to 5 years reading articles that were talking about it's really important that you be attentive to the content of your consciousness, to whether you are choosing to go to the dark place or whether you are choosing to have proper perspective to find the value, the gift, the offering in any given opportunity, thought form, experience, to look for the highest and best. Because the embodiment that they were trying to offer with that is that there's almost like two Earths shaking out in the wash right now. And one of those Earths will be those beings that have chosen to not evolve their consciousness, to not take responsibility for their thoughts, which then lead to feelings, which then lead to manifestations. For those that are not choosing to level up, to evolve, to grow, to know, to be self-aware. For those that are not choosing to be outward focused, to be more unconditionally loving. And then there will be another Earth made manifest around this idea of actually embracing your growth, your evolution, around embracing, I'm going to own the quality of the content of my thoughts, and around my four-legged whacking. He's like, playtime. Bless him, he's so silly. So the second earth is shaking out in the wash as well, where more of those that have been stewards of their consciousness have recognized the empowered perspective of thought is a creative force that activates emotion, which is a creative force, which becomes a manifesting principle in the life. And in order to have a new creation, we got to fire up a new idea, which we can get into and have gotten into in other videos of elemental formula for manifestation. What I'm wanting to say today is to speak to this two earths perspective that's been offered in spiritual circles in the past year to 5 years, that hey guys, we've got to really focus up. If you consider yourself somebody that wants peace on earth, that wants evolution, that wants us, then that always begins within. We must be the change we wish to see in the world, because what we're doing in here is telling the quantum probabilities what types of particles to become. So we can spend all day correcting and telling others how they need to clean up and fiddling with planks in other people's eyes, or fiddling with splinters in other people's eyes while we've got a plank. But we can also come to the place of power. The place of power in any given hour is you. You are the steward of you. You are the steward of your vessel moving forward. And I appreciate that there are influences, but what I would say is ultimately we do make the choice as to the perspective we're going to hold about our world, the world, who we are, who others are. And so I'm going to take this concept of these two earths shaking out in the wash, because that's kind of the easiest way to hold that. It's like, it fits in with this concept of multiverses. I've spoken before and I'll speak again now. I love quantum physics. I love Niels Bohr. I love the conversations that Einstein and Niels Bohr would get into. From a quantum mechanics perspective, there are many theories. One is simulation theory, that this is a simulation. NASA's recently pointed to finding some binary in the universe and pointed to finding error system codes, which is a simulation response that comes from IT-related issues. If you're having an IT-related issue, you might get an error system code. But there are other theories, and one of those theories that is more popular and is one that I've always really aligned with is the concept of multiverses. Now, multiverses, there are different ways that can be held. The predominant way two-leggeds hold that is that there are an infinite number of universes where Heather's making this video. And one of them, she's being a little bit more graceful and less choppy with her words. Way to go, girl. And other ones, she just gives up and reads a book instead. And so there is this infinite multiverse concept, that there's an infinite number of multiverses. And I'm at all times, I would say we are at all times quantum jumping. Quantum jumping would be moving from one multiverse to another. It's just that we typically operate within such a consistent range of frequency of our being, of holding the same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same feelings in given days, that we don't really notice the quantum jumping, because the multiverses that we're operating through, there may be, let's say, 1,000 just to get structure around this concept we're talking about, and you're moving between these 10 multiverses or 100 multiverses, so you don't notice huge distinctions in the quantum jumping that you're doing moment to moment based on the consciousness you choose to hold. What I would say is it is a vital time to become a steward of the content of your consciousness. I spend a lot of time thinking about content. What is the content? What is the quality of the consciousness I'm offering humanity? And I have found the previous week to be a dark week for me, perhaps a dark week for you. Lots of opportunity to let's dig into hot mess. And it's like, no, thank you. And yet that's sometimes the teacher that's in front of us. Are you going to let someone else tell you what you are? Do you know your character? So some of that's been going on, where two-leggeds are telling other two-leggeds, this is who you are. And it's like, okay, you're welcome to do that. You can label me all you want. The steward that you're in charge of is you. So more profound and potent thing possibly to do would be to worry about your own labels and who you're being and what you're choosing to do, because you're not the boss of me. And also, I said before, I'll say again, no one in the universe is ever going to comprehensively know me. I am not even going to comprehensively know me, because I'm not, from my perspective, just Heather Mackey in this flesh costume. I am all of the lives that I live. And because I'm not a YOLOer, I don't believe we only live once. To each their own, I don't invalidate that view. I'm just speaking from my perspective. What I can say is that because of all of that history, all of that beingness, when someone else decides to label me, they're not dealing with the complete context of what I actually am. And in truth, you're made of emptiness, which is the only thing large enough to express everythingness. So actually, factually, you are the propensity and capacity to express anything and everything you choose. And you are making choices about what out of the everythingness you're going to align with in your design and in your matrix. So it is an important time. I feel like there's been a push. There's been a push for those that are choosing to operate in an evolved state, that are choosing to operate in the light of love, those that are wanting to remove their blocks to the awareness of love's presence, those that are wanting to operate in more of an unconditionally loving space to really level up. I feel like there's kind of almost been a testing period as we close 2021 out of, are you going to freely allow yourself to not have somebody come in and be your disciplinarian? And are you going to honor your own disciplines? If you have boundaries, and if you have boundaries you've established, like I'm not going to tolerate XYZ behavior from another because I find it to be toxic, are you sticking to your boundaries? That's what's been shaking in the web and coming up this past week. So let's just take a look. Let's take an inventory right now as we're closing this year. Do you recognize any ways in which you have given up on your boundaries and what serves honoring you, the person you know yourself to be? And if so, are there any ways you can honor yourself, respect yourself, and step back into those boundaries and allow them to be present, irrespective of whether or not it's going to trigger someone else to become more activated in the shadow? That is my experience, is that a lot of people are either overly activated in shadow right now, or the light is almost trying to cower from those that are overactivated in their shadow. And I want to invite and invoke the light workers, invite and invoke the light within you, invite and invoke what I believe you truly to be, which is the light of love, to become brighter. The brighter things are, the less room shadow has to be present in the room. And when I say shadow, I mean false evidence appearing real. I mean falsehood, So the brighter we allow ourselves to express, which includes holding fast to our boundaries, honoring ourselves, honoring the character we know ourselves to be, not choosing to agree with someone else's estimation and their tiny little view of a drop of the ocean of what you are, about what you are, not choosing to agree necessarily. If somebody tells you you're a fool, or you're mean, or whatever, that is a perception they're welcome to have, and it's also their perception with their filters based on their life experiences, and contextually has much more to do with them than it actually has to do with you. So are there any things you've been handed in the past week or two, or even in the previous year of freedom and discipline, that you need to drop and you need to let go of and go, that's your growth and evolution? I would say it would be also important to apply compassion and apply empathy, because those that are really struggling with their shadow this past week, which I've seen a lot of with my clients, myself, it's important to be compassionate and empathetic. If people are shaking more shadow in the web, if they're shaking more false evidence appearing real, if they're pouring out poison into people's cups, it is simply because they have not done their shadow integration work. They have not been able to find the value and the virtue of those toxic lessons. If you have poison, you might create an antidote and you might become medicinal. So can we be compassionate to those that are suffering, or those that are in a darkened hour, without compromising our own boundaries, without dimming our own light, our own inner light, our own inner brilliance and vibrancy? And at the same time, are we ready to step into a new vision, a new year? Are you going to hold the same old idea? Are you going to tell the quantum waves of possibility and probability to collapse into more of same in the coming year? Or are you going to use that 6th vision and acceptance quality to hold a visionary idea of where you can move into, who you are as a character, how your life can show up for you, turning more of the tension to what is wanted in the life so that you may have it? You can go to rarebirdmedicine.com, click on the classes link. We have a shamanic apprenticeship starting on January 5th. I would love for you to join us. Email me if it interests you, and there's any questions you have about the offering there. You can always subscribe on YouTube, like, and comment there as well. Blessed be. Happy New Year while we're at it.